Did anyone else get this letter from Homes.com in the mail? The 2-page letter where the CEO melts down and crashes out about Zillow and sends it to agents? Because I got this in the mail today and I thought this was just normal marketing mail. Sign up for our program or sign up for leads. And, we get so much junk mail as agents, junk email, junk snail mail, you name it. We're inundated. But this I started to read as I was about to toss it with the rest of the junk mail. And then I see some inflammatory language and I ask myself, okay, what is this all about? And I skim through and I see that this company is going on a full-on assault against Zillow. And I'm going to read this quickly. So if you're short on time, feel welcome to put this on 1.5 speed. But basically, this CEO just does this rant about Zillow. It's the CEO of CoStar, which owns Homes.com. They bought it like 4 years ago. All right. You know what's funny? I was looking at my Zillow stock this morning and it's up. It was down for a long time under my ownership. I mean, not always, and I always thought that the showing time, which I hate showing time. That was such a stupid acquisition, but somehow Zillow, in spite of things like acquiring showing time, they're doing well right now. So, okay, maybe that's what prompted this letter. So I'm going to read this and I'm going to comment on it. Zillow began using the market power it has been accumulating to take greater control of your listings, you agents, betting homeowners will choose exposure on Zillow over loyalty to you, their trusted agent. All right, so it's a warning to us agents. Zillow made good on its threat Friday by banning an agent's listing who hadn't submitted their listing on Zillow within 24 hours of marketing it. So Zillow is doing some sort of their own version of clear cooperation, right? They ban you if you don't list it on their platform. They punish agents if they don't list on their platform. Or so says this letter. I'm just paraphrasing what this person has just decided to just crash out on an open letter sent to all agents. Zillow banned this listing even though it's properly listed on Bright MLS and complies with all the MLS and NAR rules. Now, when buyers search for that property on Zillow, they see it falsely labeled as off-market, even though it's listed by the agent. Zillow has long misled buyers about who the real listing agent is, and now they mislead buyers about which homes are actually for sale. So you're going to hear a lot of things that I've heard agents say. I mean, agents aren't fans of Zillow. It's like this necessary evil, but this does bring into light some important points. I'll go on. Zillow demands all your listings immediately and then takes the leads generated, selling them to other agents that pay into Zillow's model. So excuse my commentary. I'm interjecting here. Not all of this is what I'm reading on the letter. I am commenting because I've been around this for a long time and I know agents are paying Zillow. That's how Zillow makes most of its money, as far as I know, by selling leads to agents. And the more agents pay, the more they get out of it. Okay, letter continues. These leads belong to you and your sellers, not Zillow. Zillow is taking your clients right out of your hands. It gets worse. So already they're trying to rile us agents up. This is an open letter. By the way, I got a stack of these sent to my office. So it wasn't just to me, it's to all these agents. Zillow sends hundreds of millions of marketing emails to homeowners. One is titled, Helping You Sell for More. When homeowners click, Zillow encourages them to sell your home yourself, advertise your listing for free, and avoid paying a listing agent commission. Tens of thousands of sellers are now listing directly on Zillow without using an agent or paying a listing commission. So interesting if this is really unfolding. I don't know if home sellers are doing this en masse, but I know that Zillow was able to capture the rental market, which is far less valuable to agents because landlords that don't necessarily need an agent to list their property. I mean, some should, of course, but they can list on Zillow. They have to pay a fee, and Zillow has its own private rental market. All right, so it goes on. Zillow has used the IDX feeds and your listings to build up their audience, and now they're cutting out agents, brokers, and the MLS. By the way, Zillow would cut us out in a second if they could. Zillow works in conjunction with the Association of Realtors because they can't cut us out. Because right now, in terms of home sales, there are so many ways that a home sale could be done entirely online or There could be a turnkey solution for a home sale. Guess what? New home builders do it all the time, by the way. You have one big sales contract. Everything is streamlined. Streamlining isn't the problem. The tech isn't the problem. It's all there. It's all easy. Agents play an integral role in being the boots on the ground. And I don't care what anyone says, because I've worked with national lenders doing their REO programs. I've worked in all sorts of scenarios in which I've seen streamlined home transactions for sale by owners, new home builders, banks with REOs, auctions. And I'll tell you that cutting agents out isn't easy. Zillow would have done it like they did rentals a long time ago. Instead, they're playing the smart game, and they're working with the Association of Realtors to co-opt agents, to draw us into their sphere. All right, I'll go on here. All right, so these Zillow no agent listings are only on Zillow and not on the MLS or brokerage sites or other portals. Zillow is bullying agents, threatening to ban agents' listings for life if they're marketed anywhere other than Zillow. So Zillow's asking that loyalty to agents, but it's a one-way street. That's what they're saying here. Now, this isn't necessarily wrong. I don't know the extent of Zillow bullying agents, but this is very inflammatory. This is meant to rile agents up. Are the rules only for thee and not for Z? Was this written up? Did the CEO sit down with a glass of wine or maybe something stronger in the evening and write this up? And then when they wrote the rules for thee and not for Z, they're like, oh, I'm so clever. I'm so clever. This is going to be so great. It is hypocrisy to say that you're protecting clear cooperation while you're actively doing the opposite. Maybe Zillow confused clear cooperation with clearly co-opting your commissions. Boom! Another zinger for the author of this letter. Look at this prose. This is obviously a very passionately written letter. It's humorous, though. Okay, by the way, reminder, in California, the requirement that non-realtors follow the same sort of rules that realtors have to follow due to the settlement, that was co-sponsored by Zillow. Zillow collaborated with the California Association of Realtors to impose the same rules that realtors have to abide by from the settlement, the buyer representation agreement and no cooperating broker compensation, that sort of thing. They impose that now through state law, through lobbying a congresswoman to draft a bill that passed their legislature, went into effect in January of this year, and to level a playing field so that non-realtors have to abide by the same rules as realtors. Why? Because Zillow's playing the long game. They know that for the time being, you can't circumvent agents. They're trying, but you can't. I mean, just the way the market is at this point in time, 2025, and that instead they're working within the system. They're having legislation drawn to funnel agents' efforts into these monopolized systems like realtor affiliated MLSs, because if the information's bottlenecked, then Zillow has easier access points. When all the information is fragmented, it makes it a lot harder for a large tech company like Zillow to be able to capture all the data. All right, I'll go on. If Zillow demands all agent listings but continues offering Zillow exclusive listings, Zillow will offer buyers more listings than MLSs, weakening the MLSs and increasing Zillow's dominance over your business. Agents, we need to educate our clients that you don't have to tell them all this drama with Zillow, but there are many, many, many consumer websites. And it's funny. So clients, when their listing isn't on Zillow, they freak out. And this hasn't happened recently, but a few years ago, and back when the MLSs used List Hub, if a listing was put on the MLS and didn't syndicate to Zillow, then clients would freak out. And it didn't matter if you're on all the other sites. I mean, there's dozens, but big ones, Realtor.com, Redfin. I mean, just search an active listing in Google and you'll see that there's just countless websites that are syndicating these IDX feeds. But consumers have been demanding Zillow. You may want to educate them and say that Zillow is basically they're entering their own realm as having exclusive listings, and try to to warn your clients in advance that if their listing doesn't show up on Zillow immediately, that's out of your control. It's Zillow's fault, because Zillow is intelligently capturing the client and the association as, or co-opting them, I should say, to basically force them to use their system. And so if you educate your client, this is getting long-winded, if you educate your client that their listing may or may not show up on Zillow due to Zillow's own efforts, that may take some pressure off you, because I've had to deal with clients freaking out because their listing isn't syndicating from the MLS to Zillow. I'll go on. Zillow gained huge market share by buying Trulia. While regulators might never let Zillow buy Realtor.com or Redfin outright, remember Rocket bought Redfin, a couple months ago or something, for almost $2 billion. Zillow is gaining control through partnerships. Yes, they are. Zillow is paying hundreds of millions, possibly to billions of dollars, to Realtor.com and Redfin. Billion-dollar checks come with influence and control. They're really trying to froth agents up, aren't they? Zillow's former CEO, Rich Barton, stated at Inman Connect that Zillow has close partnerships with Redfin and Realtor.com, calling them great partners. Well, Zillow's close partnerships, those are probably the less powerful ones. The fact that they collaborated with the California Association to co-sponsor a bill that went into law, that made a change in the legislature, and now we have the legislation in effect since January, that is powerful. To be collaborating with the Association of Realtors, that's a far more powerful and partnership that we should, by the way, I have an idea, a solution on how to address this. And so this goes on. Redfin quickly announced that they too would obediently follow suit. How do agents and brokers keep earning commissions when Zillow aggressively holds the reins over 4 major real estate portals? Do they? There's so much conjecture here. Zillow is consolidating power over listings. This, by the way, who let the CEO of this large company send this out? For crying out loud, this thing is way too long and too emotional, too inflammatory. Boil it down, condense it, make like a YouTube short or a TikTok or something. Why are you sending out this long letter? Do you think people care that much that they're going to read this whole thing? I mean, I find it entertaining, because when a CEO does a crash out in an open letter they're sending to agents, kind of funny. But I think that this probably isn't the best medium. For crying out loud, does a CEO not have a handler that would have edited this down to 1 page or less? I mean, come on, pull out the best points, your highest and best. We know that phrase, right, agents? Put your highest and best in here. You don't need to go on for thick text on 2 pages. Zillow is consolidating power of listings, buyer agent commissions, and now listing agent commissions. How is this even legal? For the agents that do read this, they're going to think like, why are you telling me this? Am I a prosecutor? Are we suing them? What do you want me to do with this information? I mean, seriously. I mean, I run a brokerage with over 300 agents, and even I see this as not an individual agent, but an office operator. And I'm thinking, what do you want me to do? Now, I have ideas, by the way, but still then. Homes.com is the only agent-friendly real estate portal committed to your listing, your lead. We don't take referral fees from your commissions. We don't sell your leads. And we never compete with you for exclusives. Nearly 40 years at CoStar Group, we have consistently honored these principles. Okay, blah, blah, blah. We're so good. Okay. And you know what? I don't go on Homes.com, but I did right before I made this video. And I actually like their user interface. And you know what? I don't like Zillow's. I never have. I never got the appeal. Redfin has a much better user interface, dashboard. So does Realtor.com. I have both those apps on my phone, and I use those all the time when I'm too lazy to log into the MLS. I always use the Realtor.com app. I love their interface. Maybe I'll use Homes.com, not because this letter whipped me into a frenzy, but because I actually think they have a pretty good user interface. On Friday, when we learned Zillow had banned that agent's listing, we boosted it for free on Homes.com, providing enhanced exposure on Homes.com and advertising all over the internet. Run-on sentence. Okay. I commend the agent that is standing up to Zillow's outrage, bullying, and intimidation. With the largest real estate marketing investment in the world, the Homes.com network draws more than. Okay, so they're Okay, they're again plugging what they do. Fine. Over the weekend, 10,000 potential home buyers viewed that Z-band listing on Homes.com. Okay, so they're on our side in this huge battle between these giants. We agents should realize that they're on our side and Z's not on our side. Okay, every real estate agent in America should stand up to Zillow's bullying. The Northwest MLS recently announced an excellent change to their disclosure forms. The forms now require that brokers disclose to buyers and sellers referral fees that they're paying or potentially receiving. Home buyers and sellers need to know about the Zillow tax. Ask your MLS to follow the Northwest MLS's lead and enact similar rules to shift the balance of power away from Zillow and back to their agents' favor. By the way, I think generally speaking, I won't say most, but MLSs I've come in contact with, in some ways treat agents with contempt. They see us as drone worker bees collecting information for the hive. And if we get out of line, we get our hands slapped with a fine or some sort of penalty. And basically, they don't care that much. They're a compliance-oriented institution. They got named. Large MLSs got named in all these lawsuits that reshaped the industry last year. So I think they're less likely to hear what we have to say. They'll listen to someone like this because this is a large tech company. Homeowners need to know that Zillow is no replacement for the expertise a professional real estate agent brings to a successful home sale. Okay, I agree with that statement. Homeowners also need to know that Zillow, just because a property does or does not show as being actively marketed on Zillow doesn't make or break their home sale. All buyers agents are looking at MLSs, and buyers aren't just looking at Zillow. But Zillow is a huge force to be reckoned with, and that I think is the biggest takeaway with this letter. Zillow's market cap, they're worth $19.7 billion. They're giant. Redfin got acquired for shy of $2 billion. So Zillow is over 10 times the size Redfin was. And we think of Redfin as being large. Homes.com is definitely trying to punch up with this because they got acquired in 2021 for let me see here, 156 million. Okay. I mean, these are huge numbers. I mean, so when I hear this clash of the titans sort of stuff, I'm thinking, I get it. They want to change the sentiment of us, the masses. But it's kind of like, look, just because, you're getting beat at your own game. I mean, what do you want us to do? Now, they do say, actually, and to answer that question, they say in PS. Now, the CEO of CoStar Groups and Homes, this is a huge company. I'm surprised someone didn't edit this down and say, hey, Andy, look, here's what we need to do. How about some bullet points? Clear, easy to read bullet points. Condense the message. Take out the most important lines here and put in some bullet points that don't exceed 3/4 of a page, and then invite agents to a new initiative on a landing page or something like that. But instead, they basically say, hey, Homes.com is on your side. Zillow's working against you. Likely some truth to that. P.S. If you feel that it is anti-competitive for Zillow to partner up with Realtor.com and Redfin to increase their market power to control your industry, let the DOJ hear your voice. And then they say, go report Zillow to the DOJ. Go have the DOJ go after Zillow. Use the DOJ to go after Zillow and make it harder for them to slow them down so we can fill up whatever space we can in that market segment. So that's Homes.com, okay? And I don't know enough about Homes.com because I never really use them. I know about some of their other products that owned by CoStar. You may have too. I mean, CoStar, you can look them up. They have a bunch of different subsidiaries, but I'll check out Homes.com. But Zillow, so here's my takeaway, my solution. The DOJ thing, I mean, it's so extreme. This guy writes some ranting and raving in 2 full pages with a PS at the bottom of page 2 telling agents to go to the DOJ. And what's the average agent going to say? Hey, DOJ, yeah, I got this letter. I'm super bummed about Zillow. I want you to investigate them. I mean, maybe. I don't know how these things work. I will say this, though. Who is collaborating with Zillow and causing radical change in the industry? The Association of Realtors. Go to that bottleneck. Because The Association of Realtors is powerful enough to push back on Zillow and carve out places for agents protection against Zillow. If Zillow could take over the world, they would. That's what they do. They're a public company. They have shareholders. I guess I'm one of them. And Zillow's responsibility to themselves is to get big, to beat their competition. And that's what they're doing. This is smaller competition that's in this battle. So Zillow naturally is going to expand, but who can put Zillow's expansion in check, or at least set up boundaries to protect agents? The Association of Realtors. So my message is put pressure on the Association of Realtors, local, state, and national, to set boundaries in so Zillow doesn't just walk all over us, because they are. And Zillow right now, from what I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, Zillow makes most of their money from agents paying fees. Okay. So if we weren't their bread and butter, if all of a sudden all their for sale by owners and all the other peripheral stuff they're doing, if that exceeded revenue from agents, they'd cut us out in a second. It's a no-brainer. They would be violating their fiduciary obligation as shareholders if they didn't cut agents out. So that's why all these institutions that we subscribe to, like realtor affiliated MLSs and the Association of Realtors, we're in their hands. If they allow this to happen, if they automatically syndicate our data, if they let all this stuff happen, then we're in trouble, because the Association of Realtors is supposed to be how all of us assemble and have a unified voice, whether it's lobbying something or setting boundaries with how our data is shared or how our data is harvested by third-party companies. Anyway, I want to hear what you think. I'm sure you guys will come up with something. I just read this letter. I just immediately put this video on. So I'd be interested to hear what someone else has to say on it that I may have missed. Anyway, thanks for watching.